The MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Nick Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code MLB SGPN. Get a $1,000 bonus credit. We're also about Edge Boost. Get $50 per month cash rewards by using the link edgeboost.bet with the promo code SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Sunday evening, roughly 6 p.m. Eastern Time on March 30th. I'm roast episode Scott Reichel, joined by Dylan. Together, we're going to break down the Monday card. I believe we have 14 games on the slate. Looking forward to breaking it down. But Dylan, how's it going with you? It's been a pretty eventful weekend. We had opening day, carry over into the weekend. A lot of teams in action. A lot of fun overall, once again, home run bets and stuff like that. Mostly for the Yankee series. Let's ask you, Dylan, how's your weekend going?
My weekend's going all right. UFL's been very profitable. We'll see if the Stallions are choking it away. But other than that, baseball's been good. Not so good for the Mets, leaving a lot of guys on base. But good for you and Yankee fans. I know you and I were talking about the different bats the Yankees debuted. But other than that, baseball's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, and Philly's bringing up, immediately saying, all caps, bring up the Yankee bat thing. So just to talk about it.
Wow.
Yeah, briefly. I mean, to be fair, everyone always loves a good controversy. And when you have a controversy in the first weekend of the sport and the Yankees score 20 runs with 9 home runs, I feel like people want to talk about it. At the end of the day, as far as I understand it, it's legal. As far as, I mean, if it wasn't illegal, you wouldn't be allowed to do it for multiple games. Like, that's insane. It's one thing if you kind of found a way to round it and then the Yankees would get fined or some insane investigation would happen. It seems like it's legal. Yeah. Now, that opens up a whole Pandora's box of, well, if the Yankees do it, then why won't every other team do it? And I feel like that's going to happen at some point. I forgot who was using it yesterday. I want to say it was a Twins guy. There was another player on a different team who was using the same bet.
There was.
I thought it was a Twins guy. But the point is that the Yankees, as far as I know, did nothing illegal. It's definitely weird. I mean, it makes logical sense. If you want to create extra power around the barrel of the bat, then why did it take so long for teams to realize that? But either way, as far as I know, it is legal, and the Yankees capitalize on it as they were able to sweep the Brewers comfortably. Scored 20 runs on Saturday. Then they scored 12 today. Just an absolute destruction. Thank you, Trevor, for the sweep. I appreciate it. Thank you to the Brewers pitching staff for giving up all the runs there. But it's definitely a weird situation involving the bats. Eventually, will Major League Baseball step in and correct it?
I don't think so.
Even if they did, it would have to probably take a couple days or a couple weeks. But as far as I know, the Yankees, who I know have been linked to some scandals in the past, I know people talk about Houston with the, of course, trash can scandal. The Yankees also were recording some stuff there. They were involved in that too. So the Yankees have not exactly been clean throughout the entire 2000s. But it seems like, for all intents and purposes, they haven't violated any rules. But there probably should be a rule in place. Is that a fair compromise there?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I don't think the MLB or the commissioner will do anything, and it's going to take weeks if it does. I got deep into Reddit, like I was telling you before we went live. I was getting deep into Reddit. You're right. There was another guy, I think, on Minnesota or St. Louis that was using the bat as well. So it's not just the Yankees, but I guess that $1 million question was, if the Yankees are predominantly doing, or another few teams, why isn't the rest of the league doing it? We've already known. And we've already known that they juice the balls. And someone was like, over here, I know you're in New York as well. It was beautiful yesterday. So they're like, oh, it's not a coincidence. I don't think that the balls were flying, because the balls haven't been flying like that July, mid-August last season. So it's definitely different. I don't think there's anything illegal about it, as much as I would like to believe that from the Yankees. I don't think anything's illegal about it, but it's like the saying, Scott, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So
yeah, but once again, I feel like it's one of the situations where if you ain't first or last, and since the Yankees did this first, they're viewed being 100%. Potentially cheaters and viewed negatively. But if the rest of the league ends up adopting the new bat style, then it's not going to matter.
No.
So we'll see what happens. But what I do know, though, is that if it makes anybody feel better, Judge did have 4 home runs over the last 2 days, and he is not using the bowling pin bat. So there you go. So just something to keep in mind. Either way, though, I know Trevor is upset about the Brewers. In fact, he wants them to end the season already, 3 games in. Trevor, though, I have good news for you. Your streak continued. So you have a choice, either keeping your betting pick streak alive on the show by letting us know during the show what your pick is, or you can message Malcolm separately. Point is, though, I know that you're in the middle of the streak, and I know that you have been on a bit of a heater, unlike your favorite baseball team. So just keep that in mind, Trevor. You can give out a pick during the show if you do want to keep your streak. You can wait it out maybe for the next episode. Anyway, I do want to ask you, though, just since we talked about the Yankees for a couple of minutes, is there any other takeaways that you had from the opening weekend of the baseball season?
I guess a surprise team, I thought, one takeaway is the Mariners still can't score any runs. Shocker. They stink at scoring runs. But I guess a shocking team would be St. Louis. I mean, they've been actually really good. Bullpen's been really good. 3-0 to start the homestand. Twins are definitely missing Royce Lewis right now. Their lineup is just not good. In a very weak division where I think only one team is going to make it, not good. And to be honest, I think the Cardinals have some talent, and I thought they were going to be sellers at the deadline. They were trying to actively sell and trade Nolan Arenado, but he's swinging the bat well. He had a home run the other day. They just put 9 runs up today. St. Louis could be a very sneaky team, and if they continue this through the break, I don't know if they'll actually be sellers at the deadline. So, yeah, I guess the biggest takeaway would be St. Louis for me.
Yeah, St. Louis was a team that finished second randomly in the division last year, and people don't remember that. I gave out Marmol to win Manager of the Year 30-1. So we'll see what happens, but I'll take the 3-0 start. Can't complain there. My main takeaway mainly was from today. Good for Jacob deGrom.
Yeah,
good for him. Nice. 5 innings scoreless. He looked great. So nice to see him. He ended up getting pulled after like 73 pitches, but I was definitely happy to see him pitch well. So that was definitely nice to see. Don't look now. Marlins 3-1. I can't remember how long. I don't know how long it took the Marlins to win 3 games last year because they started 0-7. So we'll see once again. But either way, of course, the Braves have also been terrible. I think they're right now entering Sunday night's game. They're like 1 for 22 with run and scoring position.
Yep.
It's like something disgusting, but they're on the verge of getting swept in a 4-game set to San Diego. So something to keep in mind for the Braves. Of course, it's a long season. Other than that, the Dodgers will look unbeatable, but that's kind of a common thing that we expected entering the season. But anyway, that's basically going to do it for the weekend recap so far. A lot of fun games. You have a couple of, once again, storylines so far, but it's early, so pump the brakes. No reason to get too excited about that, unless you're the Yankees and you're on pace to go 162-0. Anyway, moving on to the actual card for the Monday slate. Before we get into the actual games themselves, I want to remind you once again that you can check out the SGPN app, because if you do want to get free picks, a reminder, why would you pay for some touts Discord where you can get free access to the SGPN Discord? Hang out with the SGPN community by breaking down all of the DGen action. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Plus, a reminder, if you do want to get all of our picks and our podcasts in one uniform location, check out the SGPN app, which is also completely free. Starting off with the actual matchup itself in the Monday card, you have a day game, actually, a couple day games. You have the Royals taking on the Brewers, and for this one, you have Bubic taking on We Don't Know. So keep that in mind. It might be Rodriguez, so we're not officially sure yet, but either way, Brewers are slight favorites, about -115. Royals are around -105, and for the over/under, you have the line set at 8.5. Bit tricky without knowing who's pitching officially for one of these teams, but we saw Kansas City look okay over the course of the weekend, not great. You saw Milwaukee look awful. But Bubic, we know, has had a pretty up and down pro career so far. I'm going to ask you, what do you like? Because Milwaukee does get to return home.
Yeah, I have Tyler Alexander for the Brewers, so we'll see. But yeah, it is Bubic. I'm going to go with a total here. I like the over 8.5. You can see that at even money. My total came out to an 8.8. I don't trust the bullpen and the starting pitching right now for the Brewers. Yes, they obviously had a tough series against the Yankees, which we discussed in the beginning, but I feel like there's a difference between losing and losing the way they did. It could just be demoralizing to a club. Coming back home, though, I think it could breed some confidence, especially in that offense. They do have a good lineup, but like you said, both guys were left on base for the Brewers as well over the weekend. So I'm going to fade both pitchers. I'm not a huge on Chris Bubic, and I'm not really sold on Tyler Alexander as well. I do think we're going to see some runs here. So like I said, my total was at 8.8. I'm going to take the over at even money.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird spot for Bubic because earlier in his career, he was not that great. Last 2 years, he's been fine, but he's barely pitched. He's only pitched 30 times, and he's pitched he's pitched 46 in a third innings over the last 2 years combined. So I don't really know what to expect from Bubic, but I think Milwaukee should look sharper at home. I feel like it's a situation where Milwaukee got blasted against the Yankees. On the bright side, they got to save all their high leverage relievers because they were down a bunch in every game. But I think you're looking at Milwaukee looking better at home. It was a really bad series. I'm not going to hit the panic button on Milwaukee. You could argue both these teams going in were going to be playoff teams. I think Kansas City was expected to be, I don't want to say a shoo-in, but people thought they were going to potentially win the division. Milwaukee's in a weak division, so we'll see what happens with that division. But I think the Brewers will be fine long term. Trevor's mentioned that they were good against lefties at home last year. They have been good against lefties in the past. I'll give Milwaukee some props. At least offensively, they looked okay. The pitching was a mess. I know Koenig had a really bad series out of the bullpen, but as far as I know, I think Milwaukee should be able to get the job done at home here. Should be close. I agree with you about the over, but I think you're looking at the spot where Milwaukee can bounce back, maybe show a little bit of sense of urgency after whatever the hell that was in Yankee Stadium. I think Milwaukee's got a decent shot here against Bubic. By the way, I see Trevor's play, so I'll relay this to Malcolm. You have the under in the Tigers and Mariners game at 7.5. Okay, so point is, we can definitely talk about that, but once again, anything else you want to add for the Brewers and Royals game?
Yeah, no, I agree. Over, and I think Trevor does make a good point in the chat. Bobby Witt over everything.
Yep, fair enough. Moving on, though, to the next matchup. You have the Twins taking on the White Sox in a game where, believe it or not, the White Sox have the better record, so keep that in mind. For this one, you have Perez against Paddock. For the money line here, the Twins are favored as they are around minus 165 at this point. You're looking at the White Sox being around plus 140. For the over-under, you have around 8 or 8.5. So, Dylan, I'm going to ask you, because the Twins are obviously projected to be better than the White Sox, but they got smacked over the weekend by the Cardinals. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, another total for me. I'm going to take the under 8.5 here. Twins, White Sox. My total came out to a 7.7. It's really cold in Chicago still, where the ball is dying in the beginning of the season and towards the end when we get to September and October. I like to take a lot of unders. White Sox really aren't a powerhouse of an offense. So we've seen in back-to-back games where the offense has kind of been a no-show. 2 straight unders in Saturday and Sunday. First start of the year for Martin Perez, and at home, Perez was a guy worth backing compared to on the road where he was just kind of a fade for me. Chris Paddock, on the other hand, he's had success against this White Sox team. 150 ERA, 13 Ks in just 12 innings of work. Small sample size, but batters were only hitting 200 off of him. Another game where I think 4-1, 4-2 type of game should be relatively close. Don't like either offense. Twins, they were a no-show against the Cardinals, and White Sox, even though they were winning some games, the offense wasn't blowing me away. So yeah, under 8.5 for me.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I feel like the issue I run into is that Perez can definitely get shelled at times, but Minnesota's looked lost to the plate so far.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they look, but I think I agree with you. Probably not a strong opinion on this game, just because I don't really like either team. But I think Minnesota's going to win. If I had to go for like a side there, maybe Paddock to record the win. I wouldn't mind that. I'm really not that high on Perez. Paddock, I have not been a fan of either, but I think Paddock, if you're asking me who I think's better, I would probably take Paddock over Perez, but it's not really a phenomenal battle. I'll put it that way. It's not a great pitcher's duel, but I'll go with the Twins to get the job done. But it's minus 160. I'm not interested. Maybe Paddock once again to get the win in that game. Moving on to the next game, you have the Red Sox taking on the Orioles. Red Sox went 1-3 against the Rangers, and the Orioles went 2-2 against Toronto. You have Newcomb, who you might remember from the Braves a long ago. He's starting against Cade Povich. For this one, you have the Orioles, who are favored about minus 140. You have Newcomb and the Red Sox, who are plus 120. For the over-under, you have 9.5. Now, for me, I know Newcomb hasn't exactly wowed anybody for a while, but I've never really been a Povich guy, who I think's been kind of a mess for most of his pro career. Minus 140 feels pretty high to me. I'll take Boston.
Yeah, another total for me. I'll say this. I like more totals than sides for tomorrow's board, but, I think, we'll see if it's a good thing or not, but I'm going to go under 9.5 here. I think the number got a little high, Scott. My total came out to 8.2. We saw the bats die out from that Orioles game on Sunday, just scoring 1 run. And Red Sox, they've been they've been very quiet against us in that Rangers series. Now, I do think in general for the course of the season, I do think the Orioles are going to be a team that's going to be an over team, but I just don't think in this spot, Cade Pavich, he was much better at home than he was on the road last season in Baltimore. And, he, in that one game he did versus the Orioles or the Red Sox, excuse me, we only saw 6 runs in that game. So I do think we could see a little runs, but 10 runs is I think is a lot. Now, I don't trust this Red Sox offense just yet. I got to see it. So I think runs will be a minimum. So yeah, under for me, under 9.5.
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably going to be in agreement with you there, but I just don't think Povich, after going 3-9 last year with an ERA north of 5, should be laying 140. I know Newcomb hasn't exactly had a great career. I know the Braves tried to move him around the rotation and the bullpen when he was there, but I just think 140 is a bit steep. So I'll go with Boston in this one. Moving on to the next one. Go look at a matchup between, where do I want to go next? I will go with the Rockies against the Phillies. So the Rockies are 1-2 after winning one of the 3 games against the Rays. The Phillies ended up winning the first 2 games, then no-showed the entire game offensively on Sunday. But you have Marquez taking on Sanchez for the actual money line. Philly, damn, they're favored by a ton. Minus 245, and
Crazy.
we're 4 games into the season. The Rockies are plus 200 on the road. For the over-under, you have 8.5. If you did want to go for a run line in this game, because the only way you could actually play it, the Phillies minus 1.5 are minus 115. Rockies plus 1.5 are around minus 105. So, Dylan, I'll ask you in this one, do you have any interest in laying minus 245 in the 4th game of the season?
No, not at all. I mean, I only made the Phillies a minus 205, and I felt like that was very generous as well with Christopher Sanchez on the mound. I'm going to go a different way of playing a total. Give me the team total for the Phillies over 4.5, whatever you could get. When I looked, I don't know if you could double check this real quick, but I only saw the first 5 totals right now, but it should be around 4.5, depending on the total you see. But outside of Sunday, the Phillies, they've been scoring at will. I know they no-showed on Sunday, but they're averaging around 6 runs per game. Obviously, small sample size, but
also a bit misleading. They scored like 4 runs in extras in the first game.
That's fair. Yes, fair. But coming back home and at Citizens Bank Park, hitter's ballpark against Marquez, who, I mean, for me, it's just someone you really want to fade in general. He was hurt last season, but Phillies, they're batting 262 over right-handed pitchers this season. It's going to be a beautiful day. The ball should be flying off the bat. 78 degrees in Philly, 15-mile-an-hour winds blowing out into center field. So I do think that will help the Phillies, both bats. I do think we'll see an over as well. But yeah, I just think we're going to see a lot of runs in this game, especially on the Phillies side. So team total over for the Phillies.
Yeah, I'll go with the Phillies minus 1.5. I feel like Sanchez is pretty hyped up this season in terms of projections. I saw a lot of people, including Adam, who is also on the MLB Gambling Podcast. He loves Sanchez for the upcoming season. Marquez has always been a guy that's randomly been very good at course and very bad everywhere else. And I feel like you're looking at the Rockies. Weird. I mean, that's partly intentional because the Rockies were trying to get guys who'd be good in cores, but it really just has not worked out for Marquez, especially over the last couple of years, where he just hasn't really pieced it together, whether it involves injuries or whether it involves performance. But Sanchez, I think, should be fine. The Rockies' offense really didn't do anything over the course of the entire series against Tampa, and the bullpen, especially for Colorado, was disastrous. Whether it involved the first game of the series or the last game of the series, that bullpen was brutal. So I think the Phillies can potentially tee off on Marquez and the bullpen. And even if the Rockies are winning in like the 6th inning, nobody feels good about it.
Nope.
Because the bullpen's useless. So I'll go with the Phillies minus 1.5. I think Sanchez will pitch fine because the Rockies on the road we know never hit well. And the Rockies pitching staff, especially the bullpen, have been as bad as expected. So give me the Phillies a minus 1.5 here for this game at around minus 110. Moving on, though, before we get into the next game on the card, I want to remember once again that we are brought to you by our sponsor, DraftKings. Actually, wait a second. No, we've pulled them. Never mind. We're brought to you by Edge Boost. SGPN's partnered up with Edge Boost, the Mirror's debit card for bettors. The Edge Boost card allows you the ability to avoid being hassled by having your card denied at the sportsbook, the FSI, etc. You'd also earn cash rewards, $70 per month in cash rewards by using the Edge Boost card. And a reminder, money saves, card distance, the insured and best part. The credit check is completely free. Reminder, when you sign up, though, for your actual Edge Boost card, use the link edgeboost.bet with the promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by MyBookie. MyBookie has a lot of options for you. In every sport, it's a place to bet in every sport. They have props in every game. They also accept customers at a ton of locations, and it's easy to deposit. You can let invest pads with crypto. You can also head to the website using the link mybookie.ag with the promo code SGPN to get a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 with the promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the tennis game. Welcome back to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Force to have it. Looking forward to getting into the remainder of the MLB slate. Just finished going through the first couple games on the card. Time to move on to the next game. You have your Mets, Dylan's Mets, taking on the Marlins. Mets had a pretty... How would you describe that series, Dylan? Average?
Lackluster.
Lackluster? Okay,
Yes.
lackluster series against Houston, where the Marlins, don't look now, are 3-1. You have Peterson, though, pitching against the Marlins as Quantrill's on the mound. I forgot he was on Miami in the first place. For the money line, you have the Mets at around minus 165. You have the Marlins at around plus 145. For the over-under, you have 8 or 8.5, mostly 8, though. So I'm going to ask you, Dylan, do you think your team bounces back, or do you think the Marlins are here to stay?
Yeah, there's no way the Mets should be this big of a favorite. I don't care if it is the fish. On pure value, you have to take Miami plus 145. My numbers only made the Mets a minus 135 favorite. They were so bad over the weekend offensively. You talk about the Braves. The Mets left everyone on base so many times. Whereas the Marlins, they were, regardless if they were playing the Pirates or not, they were actually able to drive in guys and actually win games. Like I said, they won the opening series against the Pirates. Bullpen looked decent for the Mets. I think if you want to say anything bright, Juan Soto looked good, and the bullpen actually looked pretty good. But other than that, I just can't trust them right now. Even my boy, Cal Quantrill, I thought he was still playing for Team Canada out there, but I like him. And Peterson, yeah, he was solid on the road last season, but for whatever reason, I guess it's because we play the Fish. It's a divisional rival game, but they hit the ball against him. They hit 350 off of him. So this is not really a spot I want to back the Mets, especially at this big of a favorite. Should they be favorite? Sure. Should they be this big of a favorite? There's no way I could bet the Mets right now. Plus 145, give me the Fish.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Mets. I'll disagree with you here. I feel like at the end of the day, the Marlins are 3-1, but the people underestimate how bad the Pirates are. The Pirates get like this BS hype almost every offseason now because the division's terrible and they're projected to be potentially frisky. They're not. Like, they're not frisky. They're never frisky. I feel like you're looking at a Marlins team that was pretty fortunate. They were against another bottom feeder in the league. The Mets did go up against the Astros, who I know might not be as good as previous years. They're still dangerous at home. And you're looking at the Mets, who were competitive in those games. They fell short a couple of times, but I like Peterson a lot more than I like Quantrill. Quantrill last year was on the Rockies, and he was a mess in core, so it's kind of tough to evaluate his season last year. But I'm not a fan of him in general. I think Peterson's, objectively speaking, the better pitcher. So I am going to go with Peterson in this game. You could argue maybe if you want to go for the Marlins, you can go for Marlins first 5 and make an argument for Peterson to struggle. Yeah. But do I like the Marlins bullpen? Not really. I thought Pittsburgh's bullpen was worse. It doesn't mean their bullpen's any good. I'll take the Mets in this one. Think that they will definitely look a little bit more, I'd say, motivated, maybe a bit pissed off after how that series ended against Houston. So I'll go with the Mets. I'll go with the minus 1.5, actually. I think they'll get the job done here against the Fish. Moving on to the next matchup, you have the Rangers taking on the Reds. For this one, Rangers are a slight favorite, minus 115, give or take. The Reds are plus 100. You're looking at the actual pitching matchup. You have Rocker taking on Singer. Now, the over-under in this game is also set at around 9 flat. Rocker, if I'm not mistaken, was originally a Mets prospect, correct?
Yes.
And then they let him go. He went back to college or whatever, and then he ended up going to the Rangers. So, point is, he's going to be pitching against Singer, who you might have forgotten is actually on the Reds at the moment. Rangers look good over the weekend, though. Ended up winning 3 of 4 against Boston. The Reds had a pretty up-and-down series against the Giants. So, I'm going to ask you, the Rocker hasn't really made many MLB appearances in the past. Singer's been around. Is he good? Sometimes. Is he bad? Sometimes. So, we'll see what happens, but I'll ask you, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, my first side bet. Give me the Rangers on the money line, minus 116. My numbers made them a minus 120 favorite. The bullpen, I feel like it's been impressive for the Rangers over the weekend against, in my opinion, a good Red Sox lineup. I think this should be a good season for Rocker. He only had, like you said, he only had 3 starts last season, and I didn't really think they went that bad. He never gave up more than 3 runs. Didn't let up the long ball. Got mostly ground balls. Didn't give up a lot of hard hit rate was down. So going up against a Reds lineup who They haven't hit the lights out of the ball. I don't think this is a terrible spot for his first start of the season. I trust the Rangers way more right now, especially their bullpen, as opposed to the Reds, who they blew 2 games over the weekend in games they should have won against the Giants. I don't think the Giants are that good of a team. Thought the Reds kind of blew that series, and I just think I trust the Rangers more right now. I think they should be a bigger price, so I'll take the short price here at -116 with the Rangers.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, mainly because even if the Reds are winning, I don't trust the bullpen at all.
Yeah.
You can have an argument on which bullpen was worse this weekend, the Reds or the Rockies. Probably Rockies, but honestly, it's a discussion. Like, both bullpens were really bad.
Yeah.
So even if the Reds got a decent performance from Singer and he gives you 5 or 6, do you feel good
No.
with a 1-run lead? Probably not. So I think Texas's offense is good enough to capitalize on what could be a very suspect bullpen. The Rangers' bullpen was fine. Was not great in the first game as Abreu had that home run, but they were fine for the most part. Thought they pitched pretty well over the course of the series. So give me the Rangers as well. Rockford didn't pitch much last year, but I thought he was fine last year. He had a 3.86 ERA. I trust him as long as he doesn't get lost on his way to White Castle. So I think I'm going to go with a Rocker here on this one. That's a Harold and Kumar White Castle joke, by the way.
I got it.
Point is, though, looking forward to seeing him pitch this season. I know he was viewed as a very sought-after prospect from Vanderbilt. He had the injury issues. That's why the draft stock kind of plummeted for him. And then eventually he was able to right the ship. So I'm happy to see Rocker pitch, and hopefully we'll see him pitch well for the season. But either way, give me the Rangers as well for this game.
Real quick, Scott, real quick before we go ahead. I expected Jack Leiter to kind of fall flat on his face, but he actually pitched pretty well against the Red Sox. Do you think who has a higher ceiling, Kumar or Jack Leiter?
So I'm going to ask, are you bringing that up because they're on the same team or because they were both from Vanderbilt?
I didn't even realize. I didn't even think about it.
Weren't they teammates?
They were teammates, yeah, but I didn't even think of it in that sense. I thought of it because they're on the same team.
I feel like Leiter's viewed as the better prospect, and he also has the last name. He's got a lot of family pedigree, so you're assuming that he'll be able to piece it together. I like both guys. I feel like the argument you could be made is that Leiter technically has a higher ceiling. One, because of stuff, and B, because of the health concerns Rockers had in the past. So you can argue that Leiter definitely has a bit of a higher ceiling. I think both guys are pretty solid, at least based on stuff. As of right now, I think Rockers looked better in their very, very young pro careers. I think Leiter will have the better career, but I think it's going to be close. I think both guys are going to be pretty solid. I'm not saying that Leiter or Rocker are going to be aces on a staff at any point. They might be. Still too early to tell. But I think right now, Leiter is the better pitching prospect. But I think both guys are pretty solid.
Yeah, I guess the reason I brought that up was because I think from what I've seen, Rocker's been better, but it seems like the organization thinks Leiter will be better, which is the reason they made him starting pitcher number 2.
Yeah, and also because Leiter, I believe, was he the first pick in the draft? I know he was definitely up there. I think he was definitely the first pick in the draft, but I mean, he was the guy at Vandy, and I'd say Rocker was guy number 2. So at the end of the day, when you are that high of a prospect and you are given that much hype, and you've kind of been waiting to see it because he's 24, you're kind of once again waiting to see him turn into that superstar. Not everybody's Paul Skeens, where they just show up and dominate immediately in their first season, or like a Strasburg type. So I agree with you. That is the direction that the Rangers are kind of headed, where it seems like they are looking at Leiter as being maybe a step above Rocker. I don't know if there is that big of a differential between the two of them, but I do think Leiter's the better prospect.
Yeah, I would agree.
So that's where I'm at. But either way, I think both of them should be pretty solid for the Rangers this season. Moving on to the next game on the slate. Want to look at the Pirates against the Rays. Now, for this game, you have Molodzinski pitching for the Pirates, and you have Rasmussen pitching for the Rays. Rays are about -165. You have the Pirates at around +140. For the over-under, you have 8.5. Now, we saw Pittsburgh somehow lose a 4-game series to Miami. Tough to do. As for the Rays, they were able to win their first series in the Yankees minor league stadium. They were able to beat the Rockies 2 out of 3. Both teams really did not look great. But I'll ask you, Dylan, which side do you like here? Because I think I have to go with Tampa. At least I like Rasmussen. He gives you something, and the bullpen's good. Pittsburgh can't pitch. So I'll go with Tampa, but what do you like in this game?
Yeah, you gotta favor Tampa here in this situation. I think the number's spot on. If you want to take value, probably take them on the run line like I did today. To get any value, minus 160, I think is a little steep, but it's another underplay for me. Under 8.5 at minus 114. Total came out to 8.1. Two very low scoring games to start the year for the Rays. I thought it was odd, especially in playing in that new field, George Steinbrenner Field. I actually thought we would see some overs, and I thought lefties would actually fare well, but it didn't seem like that. Only the one game going over, seeing 10 runs on Sunday. But, bullpens have been solid, middle of the pack. I won't say solid. They were middle of the pack to start the season, but I just guess two lackluster offenses against, I think, pretty decent pitching here. So I think runs are going to be tough to come by. So I'm going to take under 8.5. No offense really blew me away over the weekend.
Yeah, I think I misspoke before. I meant to say the Yankees spring training stadium. I think I said minor league stadium. Same idea.
Same thing.
It's associated with the Yankees. You get the point. For this game itself, I think I agree with you. Like, I think Rasmussen can shut down Pittsburgh because I think he's a pretty solid pitcher.
Yeah.
As for Molodzinski, I don't really know much about him, to be honest. I mean, he's 26. He's a relief pitcher, according to ESPN. So I'm not expecting much distance here, but he was fine last year, 3.38 ERA. It's mostly just looking at the Rays offense doing virtually nothing against the Rockies starting pitching. And they were saved by how bad the Rockies bullpen was. But I don't really see Pittsburgh doing anything offensively because they didn't do anything offensively over the weekend against Miami. So I'll go with the under with you in this one. The total's a bit high at 8.5 with these two offenses. So I agree. Give me the under. Don't mind Rasmussen win in this matchup. I think he's going to pitch well, so that could be an option. Maybe Rasmussen under-earned runs, but I think he's the better pitcher in this game. So give me Tampa. I think get the job done in the spot, and give me the under as well. Moving on to the next game, you have the Nationals taking on the Blue Jays. Now for this one, you have Soroka, who you probably forgot was on the Nationals, against Francis, who was really, really good. 10 last year. Soroka, though, we know was very good early in his career with the Braves, had a bunch of injuries, but he was actually pretty good in spring training. As for Francis, we know that he was lethal at the end of last year. For the money line, you have Toronto at around minus 165. You have the Nationals at around plus 140. For the over-under, you have 8.5. First glance, I like the under the first 5 under. I think Francis pitches well. Soroka, I think has been good in spring training. I think he'll look sharp in this one, at least early on. Toronto's offense was very streaky over the course of that series against Baltimore, where they kind of no-showed a couple games, then woke up late. But I think this total is going to be high. You might end up getting a first 5 total of 4.5 or maybe a juiced 5. I don't mind the juiced 5 here. I think Francis is a good pitcher.
Yeah, I agree. Another under for me, under 8.5. My total came out to 8 in this game. Like I said with the Orioles, I expect the Blue Jays to be another over team long term, but I don't think this game. I agree. I like Michael Soroka. He hasn't pitched in a while, but spring training he looks good. He has solid stuff. I guess the one thing that is scaring me off the under is how bad the bullpen was for the Nationals over the weekend.
That's why I said first 5 if you want to toss out the bullpen.
Yeah, so that's kind of what scared me. If you really want to play the under and you're ballsy, you just want to say screw the bullpens, yeah, play the full game. But I would agree with Scott. I would take the first 5, kind of eliminate the bullpens, because once that happens, anything could happen. Obviously, Phillies are a much different team than the Blue Jays. Only 3 guys on the Blue Jays, obviously small sample size, but only 3 guys hitting above 300 against right-handed pitchers. So the Blue Jays should win this game, but I like Michael Soroka, and I think we see a lower scoring game. So yeah, I would agree. First 5 under.
Yeah, by the way, to backtrack quickly, I want to congratulate the Pittsburgh Pirates for becoming the first team to be walked off for the first 3 losses of the season since the 1924 Pirates.
Wow.
So congratulations. Against Miami, you got walked off 3 times. Impressive stuff. Moving on to the next game. You have the Angels taking on the undefeated Cardinals. For this game, you have the pitching matchup between Anderson and Mikolas, which sounds disgusting. For the actual money line, you have the Cardinals, who are about minus 130. You have the Angels, who are around plus 110. For the over-under, you have 8 or even a 7.5 available on FanDuel, like minus 122. First glance, give me the over 7.5.
Yeah.
Mikolas and Anderson? Sure. I'll gamble here. I understand the argument is the Angels offense didn't really do much against the White Sox, and the Cardinals offense was good, but you have to wonder long-term if the offense is that good on paper. But I don't trust either pitcher. Mikolas is, I know, Malcolm's favorite pitcher. Just kidding. But you're looking at Anderson, who was very, I'd say, good to start last year, and then kind of fell off a cliff at the end. I think this total's too low at 7.5 or 8. I think that even though both offenses can be a bit, I'd say, underwhelming at times, I do think each team could hypothetically get to 4 in this game. So give me the over. I think 7.5 is too low.
Yeah, I would agree on the over. I made the mistake of backing the Angels over the weekend, and they screwed me. So I'm not going to do that again. I like the Cardinals. They've been very profitable to start the season for me. Minus 130. I would say even these aren't my numbers. I would say my numbers made them a minus 155 favorite. I think that's a little steep, but getting a minus 130, I have no problem laying. My total came out to 8.9. I mean, the cap is Anderson and Nicholas. I mean, not the two best pitchers. And I mentioned it earlier in the show. You know, I know they played the Twins, but man, they're really missing Royce Lewis. I feel like that is hurting their lineup. But, you know, their offenses look great for the Cardinals at home, averaging around 6 runs per game or 6.5 runs per game, while the Angels, they're struggling to score runs against the White Sox. Angels are just not a team I want to be backing right now. Until they turn this offense around, if they could do that, let's just keep backing the Cardinals here. Question for you, Scott. When and if they get Anthony Rendon back, will that help this offense?
That's a hell of a question.
I asked because I saw your Twitter before when he got surgery again, and I started dying.
Yeah, I mean, he usually waits during the season to do that, so he gets like workers' comp. But
yeah.
I mean, they're going to take him back because they're paying him too much money. But
yeah.
I wonder at some point if they would give him like the Rockets John Wall treatment, or they're paying him to stay away from the team. They're like, listen, don't even bother. Like, your check's coming in the mail. Just don't even bother showing up to the facility. You don't want to be here anyway. But I'll tell you what, though, on the bright side for Rendon, he did it last longer than Strasburg.
Hey,
so there's some type of achievement in that. Just throwing it out there. But I actually wonder. I mean, the Angels are going to bring him back if he's healthy at some point, but they have to. They're paying him too much money.
Yeah.
But they might be out of it anyway by July. So, yeah, why not? You might as well. Let the fans boo him. He can get into fights with fans. That way you can suspend them. You don't have to pay him. You can spend him some money.
Exactly.
You know, one fight with the front row, and he gets to get fined $35 million. So I'll see what happens as a way to try to get money back. But, yeah, for this game, I mean, to answer your question with Rendon, if it's a cop-out answer, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really doesn't matter. He doesn't like actually playing baseball. He likes the money. Of course, I guess. But the Angels, they'd be bad either way, whether he was on the team or not. But for this game, I'll go with the Cardinals. I mean, you mentioned before the Angels didn't look great against the White Sox. The Cardinals did look good against the Twins. I think if you're looking at the pitching matchup and you think both pitchers aren't great or won't go distance, I do think the Cardinals are a bit cheap here at minus 135. It's kind of weird, though. The Angels are a really bad baseball team, but I actually like the back end of their bullpen. Like, I think Joyce as a setup guy is disgusting, and Jansen's a pretty good closer. So the Angels randomly have a decent, 8-9 combo. So if you want to make the argument that the Angels could be leading at some point in this game, they have a decent tandem there at the end of the bullpen. Do we agree on that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think they're bad, but I don't trust them.
I kind of wish Joyce was closing personally, but Jansen is a guy who we know can let guys get on base a lot, and it's never easy. I would maybe compare him to a modern-day K-Rod. Is that fair as a comp?
That's fair. Yeah, he's been nice lately. So,
he gets the save usually, but there's 2 guys on base, and you have a heart attack if you have money on the team. So, it's how it goes. But I think the Cardinals are better for the first 7 innings, and then you get in. I mean, they also have one of the best closers in the league, too, in Helsley. So, give me the Cardinals in this one. I think it'll be an ugly game. I like the over because I don't trust either starting pitcher. But I'll go with the Cardinals based on form so far. Moving on to the next game, you have the Giants taking on the Astros. So for this matchup, you have Jordan Hicks pitching against Blanco. For the money line, you have the Astros at minus 120. You have the Giants at even money. For the over-under in this game, you have the line being set at around 8.5. So Hicks, we know, has good stuff, but he never goes more than 5 innings. So you're looking at probably a cap there of about 5 innings. Blanco was very good to start last year, had the suspension, but as a whole, I think we'd agree he's a pretty solid starter. The Astros look good in their first series against the Mets. The Giants look pretty good as well. Bit fortunate the Reds bullpen punted away a couple games, but I think the Astros are a better team here. Give me the Astros at minus 120. Feels pretty cheap. I think Hicks is fine, but with him not going length in any outings, I really have a hard time trusting the Giants to piece together the final 4 innings of this actual game. Give me the Astros. I know that Hader didn't make it easy either in the 9th inning, but he got a couple saves. He didn't choke any games away. He almost did, but he ended up striking out Soto to end one of those games, which made me happy as a Yankees fan. But I'll go with the Astros minus 120. You?
Yeah, it seems cheap. I took Astros minus 118, minus 120. Either price is fine. I guess my numbers could be way off, but my numbers made the Astros a minus 160 favorite, and not just because Hicks doesn't go long into games. I guess the one difference is how Hicks looked versus the Astros last season as well. 5.79 ERA. Astros were hitting 265 off of him. And Ronel Blanco, he was great at home last season. Bullpen looked good against the Mets lineup, who, in my opinion, is a better lineup than the Giants on paper. So, yeah, it seems a little short, but I do think the Astros deserve to be a little bit bigger of a favorite. So, yeah, I agree. I would take the Astros here on the money line minus 120.
I feel like after that series against the Mets, they should be like minus 135, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Did you think the Giants look good against the Reds? Probably not.
No.
The Reds bullpen just handed away 2 games.
Yeah, they handed away 2 games. I think the Reds should have won those games, and that's not me because I said I backed the Reds. That's
definitely not because of that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree. Moving on though to the for the total, I'd probably go with the under in this game. Like, I don't mind the starters here. Maybe you could argue Blanco's going to shove, and that could be a way to get there too. I'll go with the under, though. 8.5 feels a bit high. Moving on to the next game, you have the Guardians against the Padres. Now, the Guardians won 2 out of 3 in Kansas City. The Padres are trying to sweep as they have the Sunday night game against the Braves. For this game, you have Ortiz against Hart. So 2 guys who you really don't know anything about. For the actual money line price here, you have the Padres at minus 135. You have the Guardians at plus 115. For the over-under, you have around 8 as a flat total. I see an 8.5 available, but mostly at 8. So I'm going to ask you, because both teams did look pretty good over the weekend, but of course, J-Ram did get injured for the Guardians. We'll see what his story is, but you have Luis Ortiz, who's pitching on the Guardians, and for the Padres, you do have Kyle Hart pitching. I feel like if you were playing the MLB version of who we play for, these 2 guys would show up, and no one will get the right answer. So I'm going to ask you, who do you like more in this matchup, Ortiz or Hart?
Yeah, I'm going to take Hart in the Padres here at home. Like you said, they've been great at home to start the season. Pitching has been solid. Fernando Tatis offensively. Fernando Tatis, Jackson Murrow, just picking up where they left last season. They've been great. They're getting help from their bullpen as well. And a very tough series against the Braves, who have kind of been battling back. Every time they score, the Padres have an answer. So very, very good, and I guess encouraging to see if you are a San Diego fan. And no one on the Guardians really scares me on that lineup, besides maybe Stephen Kwan, but he can't do it by himself. You mentioned J-Ram. He is day-to-day. He did get hurt. We'll see if he gives it a go. But, yeah, no one on this Guardian team scares me. There's just too much firepower on this offense lineup for the Padres. My numbers made them a minus 147 favorite, so minus 130 I think is fair. I think it's fair for the Padres at home.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Braves, actually. I know they've been really bad, like insanely bad offensively so far this season.
Guardians, you mean?
Sorry, not the Guardians. I said the Braves. My bad. Oh, yeah, Guardians. Yeah, my bad. I was mixing around some stuff.
No,
I was thinking about the Braves for some reason. It's because the Padres play the Braves tonight.
I know.
Yeah, for the Guardians, though, I feel like for this matchup, I think I am going to go with the Guardians. It was going to tie into what I was going to say. I was going to fade the Padres because they're playing the Braves tonight. And I feel like if you want to go through the numbers, which I don't have in front of me, I want to say teams playing right after Sunday Night Baseball have not been great in the Monday game. No, I don't have the stats behind me for that, but I feel like you've noticed that too.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So based on the Padres having a late night game, maybe they'll burn the bullpen. We'll see what happens. But I like the spot for Cleveland. They finished their game early against Kansas City. Now they get to fly across the country, but still, I do think it's a bad spot for San Diego, where they have the night game against Atlanta. We'll see how many relievers they use. You have a relatively, I don't want to say unknown starting pitcher, but you have a pitcher who really has not done much in his pro career. And we'll see which relievers are available for this game. So I'll go with the Guardians. in the spot. I think it's once again a Sunday Night Baseball fade for this team. You're looking at the Padres, though, who are not traveling. They do play the home game against Atlanta, so it's not as bad as Trevor's mentioning. But I do think, based on the spot itself, I'll fade the team playing Sunday Night Baseball at plus money.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
That's kind of where I'm at for the Guardians. Moving on, though, to the next game. You have the Tigers taking on the Mariners. I know Trevor's thoughts on this game because this is going to be his streak pick for this one. You have Job taking on Hancock, and for this one, the Mariners are minus 120. Tigers went over the weekend, and they are even money. And for the over-under, you have the line at 7.5. I agree about the under. I don't trust either offense to do anything, but I think I am going to go with Job at around even money. I don't trust Hancock to be laying minus 120 with a team that can't hit.
Simple. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm excited. I'm actually excited to watch Jackson Jobe pitch. I think I was on with Scott, or maybe you. I mentioned Jackson Jobe. Should be interesting. I think he's a nice long shot too for Rookie of the Year. But I think this is a good spot for him to get his first win against a Mariner team who they're just terrible. Minus one set, batting 174 on the year. They're just struggling to score a run. Shocker. I was listening to your the pod you broke down with the preview. They didn't do anything again in the offseason. I don't understand that. How does a team like that who struggled to score runs not do anything in the offseason and then expect a different outcome? That's the definition of insanity. And I think Hancock is all right, but I don't trust him either. I don't trust the bats to get him the run support he needs to win the game. So I think the value is with the dog. I think we see another low-scoring game, 3-1, 3-2. My total came out to 6.7. So, yeah, I agree, under 7.5.
Yeah, I feel like Job, we know, is still relatively young. They threw him into the fire. That playoff game against Houston didn't go well. But the point is, I do think that he's definitely a solid pitching prospect. Mm-hmm. You're looking at the Mariners, though, and I thought it was pretty funny how, like, a day after I roasted the Mariners for not doing anything, Justin Turner, of all people, said, I don't know what the hell they're doing. They didn't do anything. I'm like, all right, I'm glad we agreed, Justin Turner. But it's like a common theme with the actual organization where they just never spend money on bats. And when they do the rentals who never pan out, and the main move the Mariners made this offseason was the Yankees kidnapping their broadcaster. Because Sims went to broadcast the Yankee radio games. That's basically it. So
that's it.
Yeah, I know that Susan Waldman made a joke about the Yankees when they had like 12 runs either today or yesterday, and said your old team would take a month to score 12 runs, which is extremely harsh for a Yankees broadcaster to say. But at the same point, they're not wrong. But you didn't have to say it. You didn't have to go there. But still, I do think at the end of the day, the Mariners' offense is just a mess. And they struggled against Oakland, whose pitching staff I think is fine.
Yeah.
Not like amazing, but they didn't do much in general. They had a bunch of chances, couldn't convert. And the Tigers' offense was not good over the weekend. But on paper, you can argue that these teams are comparable lineup-wise. And Detroit, I just think, is managed better. I think Hinch is one of the best managers in the league. So
yeah, I would agree.
Detroit at even money, I think it's a pretty decent price. Moving on, though, to the next game. You have the Cubs taking on the A's. Speaking of the A's, for this game, you have the Cubs with Brown on the mound against Estes. And for the money line, Cubs are minus 125. The A's are plus 105. For the over-under, you have the line being set at 8.5. Now, Estes had a pretty interesting year last year. He was 7-9 with a 5.01 ERA. But to throw in the fact that he was very good at home, actually, 3.26 ERA at home and a 6.9 ERA on the road. The Cubs, though, just punted the entire game today as they were winning. I believe it was 6-2 in the eighth and gave up 4 runs in the eighth. So now they're tied 6-6. We might get extras in that game. So based on the spot, give me the Athletics, the Sacramento A's. Give me the A's in this game to get the job done. Estes was good at home last year. The Cubs might burn the entire bullpen today in what could be an extra innings game. Bad spot, give me the A's.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over 8.5 at minus 114. My total came out to a 9.4. Ben Brown is a fade for me. And surprisingly enough, I don't think the A's have swung a bad bat. They've been swinging a pretty decent bat in the first series. Will they keep it up? Who knows? But I do think they will travel at night. We're seeing it right now. The score is 6-6, bottom of the eighth. So A lot of their arms are going to be used. I don't trust their bullpen. Bullpen hasn't been good so far either for the Cubs. And man, they're struggling out of the gate. I think that's a trend we have to look for. Whoever starts an international series, when they come back to the States, they struggle. Granted, it is against the Snakes, but they haven't looked all that impressive either. So I do think we'll see some.
Are the Dodgers excluded from that experiment, or
Yes,
how do you
yes.
factor in the Dodgers?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
No, just the losing team. We'll say we even saw the Padres even kind of struggle coming from the Seoul series last year as well. So I don't know. Yeah, not the Dodgers. They're different, but yeah, definitely we're going to fade the Cubs here and their bad bullpen. And I think both teams, we're going to see some runs. I think the Cubs, they swing a pretty decent bat as well. So, yeah, going to fade Ben Brown and that bullpen. Give me the over 8.5.
Yeah, I'll back Estes. Once again, he's been pretty good at home. I feel like people look at the numbers and go 5 ERA, but you got to always factor in the splits. Yeah. Some pitchers are really good at home and really bad on the road, and Estes was actually pretty good at home last year. So I'll fade the Cubs off of a really bad scheduling spot. This game's going to end pretty late. Especially if they head to extras, at least, they're on the West Coast, I guess, so it's not as bad. But if you burn the entire bullpen, you got to play again tomorrow. I wonder, what relievers you have left in terms of quality. Do you throw in the mop-up guys? I don't know. You might burn the entire pen. We'll see what happens. So give me I'm going to do that for a while, by the way.
Give me the A's.
Give me the A's for this one, the Sacramento A's, to get the job done here in their first home game of the season. I do want to ask you, how many fans do you think actually show up for this game? More or less than Oakland.
I was gonna ask, what's the over? What are you setting the total at? What's the over under?
I'll put it this way: more or less than Oakland.
More.
I agree.
More.
You need 6 people to go over the Oakland total. So
I was gonna say, what do you need? 15, 20 people? I think that would hit the over.
Yeah, I think you'll probably get a couple thousand. It's always weird, though, when you have teams that use stadiums as stopgaps, like spots, like Tampa, for example. I know that it's in Florida. Are Rays fans going to make the trip to just see them play in a makeshift stadium? I don't know what the Rays are doing for a full-time stadium, though, but the A's are using Sacramento as a rental before they move to Vegas. So are Sacramento people supposed to go, I guess I'm an A's fan for the next 2 years? Like, what are they supposed to do? I don't know. Yeah. So I don't know. I'll ask you a question, though. Since Cubs fans do travel relatively well, what percentage of fans do you think will be Cubs fans in the stands?
75%.
Okay. Something to keep in mind. So keep an eye out on that. Once again, not all fans are created equal. If a game is like 50% sellout, but you have 80% opposing fans, that's not a home field advantage.
At all.
Shout out to the Rams, who play every home game against the Niners in a sea of red. But you get my point. Moving on, though, to the next game, the final game on the card. You have the Braves, who play against the Dodgers. Braves still trying to win the first game of the season. By the way, I see the Cubs did actually blow the lead, and they are now losing 7-6. So we'll see what happens. But Morgan did not have it today for the Diamondbacks. Moving on, though, to the Braves and Dodgers game. You have Holmes pitching against Glass now. And for the actual record, now the Dodgers are undefeated, and the Braves are 0-3. For the actual money line, for this game, Dodgers are favored, obviously, minus about 200. Braves are plus 160. For the over-under, you have 8 flat. And for the actual run line for this game, the Dodgers minus 1.5 is available at around plus 110. And the Braves plus 1.5 is minus 130. I actually like Holmes as a pitcher.
Yeah.
But I do think the Dodgers are just right now a juggernaut, and Mookie comes back, it's a walk-off home run. Yeah. But the Braves, I said before, as I butchered that matchup between the Padres and the Guardians, I'm going to fade the team playing Sunday night. I think it's a bad spot. They're traveling. I know it's in California, but still, the Braves right now can hit. They might burn the entire bullpen tonight. We'll see. But it's a bad spot, and if you want to fade teams playing the Sunday night game on Monday, you've done pretty well. Give me the Dodgers minus 1.5 and plus money.
Yeah, you could get that at plus 110, and, they're going up against Tyler Glass now as well, so that's just not a good spot. I do like Holmes. I think he was pretty good in his relief inning against the Padres, and I think he's been good. The bullpen's been pretty solid as well for the Braves. They haven't been bad either, but I agree. I'm going to take your handicap. I think fading a team playing Sunday Night Baseball and going into this spot, who you're playing the best team in baseball right now, they're winless. And they're winless, exactly. And you're still getting plus 110 on the run line at home. I think we got to take it until we don't get plus money anymore. So I would agree. Maybe first 5 -1/2, but whatever you want to do, first 5 -1/2 or full game -1.5. I like that as well.
Yeah, there is also kind of a betting lesson in the Braves' early season struggles, which is, once again, it could blow up in your face, but at the same point, people always try to predict when a streak or a certain cold streak's going to end, where you look at a team that's right now underachieving or in some cases overachieving, and you assume, well, they're going to regress, they're going to eventually figure it out. Maybe. I don't want to keep betting on games assuming they're going to fix it until I actually see them fix it. I'll just keep riding the streak until eventually I'll lose once when they wake up. But some people are going to look at this game and think the Braves are going to wake up. They can't be this bad moving forward. You're right. At some point, they'll figure it out. But I'm not going to randomly chase games hoping they snap out of it. I'd rather wait to see them figure it out than back them accordingly. Is that
especially
fair?
Against the Dodgers?
Yeah, especially against the Dodgers. But you see a lot of people
who
will look at certain teams and go, well, they can't be this bad for this long.
No, they can.
There's 162 games.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can be bad for a week. It happens in the baseball season. So I'm going to stay away from the Braves until they actually work it out. But until then, I will fade them accordingly. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for all 14 games on the card. Now it's time for the Lock and Dog picks. Before we get into that, though, want to remind once again that we are brought to you by our sponsor, Arnog, because you can use Arnog Pick'em to win up to 100 times your money. You can play different sports at the same time. You have college basketball, you have NBA, you have MLB, you have tennis, a bunch of different sports. And a reminder, you can also use the actual promo code MLB SGPN to especially getting first time deposit offer to 1K bonus cash. We sign up for your new account on fancy promo code MLB SGPN. We're also brought to you by our sponsor, Rhythm, because they're the home of AI picks and props. Rhythm's already off to a great start in March Madness, helping you dominate. You can also build your own model. It's very easy and profitable to do so. And you can also use models in NBA, golf, and coming soon MLB. Try it out, though, free for a week by using the link sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm for a 7-day free trial, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Finished breaking down every game on the Monday card. Now it's time for the Lock and Dog picks. Dylan, I'm going to go first. What are your Lock and Dog picks for the Monday slate?
Yeah, I gave a lot of totals out here for Monday. I guess one of my favorite plays, for my lock, and just going to go based on my numbers. I'm going to take the Astros here. Like you said, I don't really think even though they won the series, the Giants, I don't think they were the better team. I think the Reds I think their bullpen blew it. So the short price -120 that we're seeing right now, I think they should be, especially winning the way they won against, I would bias aside, I think a pretty solid, we'll see it, Met team. The way they won, they should be a bigger favorite. Like you said, -135, -140. So, yeah, I would take the Astros here as my lock. As my dog, I didn't really give that much, but I would agree with you. I think the Tigers is it still plus money? Tigers?
I believe so. I think it's around even money, so I'll give it to you.
No, you know what? Forget it. That's too short of a price. People aren't coming here for even money. I'll take the Dodgers here, -1.5. I mean, we're gonna fade teams playing on Sunday Night Baseball, regardless. Even if it is just traveling from in-state up the highway, it doesn't really matter. And like you said, you made a really good point. I don't think we really want to be backing teams that will figure it out. Yeah, probably they will figure it out, but it's probably not going to be against Tyler Glasnow and the Dodgers on the road. So I'm not going to get in front of the Dodgers train right now. So +110 I'm seeing on the run line. I'll take that as my dog of the day.
Yeah, by the way, I did find the Tigers at +106 if you wanted that.
No, I'll take the Dodgers. That's fine with me.
Yeah, by the way, to correct myself earlier, for some reason I thought Soroka was actually good in a spring training. He was actually horrible, so apologies there. I was misled. But anyway, so something to mention. I mentioned before he was actually pretty good. He was not, so apologies there. For the actual lock for this show, bit of pressure on me because I swept the last episode, so I got to see what I want to do for this one. Decent amount of options available for me. You know what? I think I am going to do it because I really don't trust either pitcher in this game. Give me the over 7.5 in that Cardinals and Angels game. I know the Angels might not be great, but you have Mikolas against Anderson. 7.5 at -122. I understand the argument of, both offenses are, maybe the Angels exclusively because the Cardinals were good over the weekend, of potentially struggling. But 7.5 with those two starting pitchers, that's too low of a total. Give me 7.5 as the over, as my lock in the Cardinals game at -122. I'll dare Anderson and or Mikolas to pitch well. The Angels bullpen might be good if they're winning. I don't trust the mid relievers in there. I just like their setup and their closer. So give me the over in that one. Think you'll see a bit more of a high scoring game than people think. For the dog, a couple options that I can go with here. What do I want to go with for my dog? Sorry, just looking to see what I want to go with. You know what? I think I am going to take it because do I want to go with the A's, actually? You know what? I'll do it. Yeah, let's have some fun. Give me the Sacramento A's on the money line to get the job done here with Estes. They're around plus 105. Unlike you, I'm just going to give out a low plus money play because I can. I like the play itself. We've seen the Cubs bullpen self-destruct in this inning right now, as I believe the Arizona's
9-6.
I was going to say Arizona's been batting for the last 40 minutes. It's actually 10-6. Arizona scored 8 runs in the 8th inning. So they burned through almost the entire bullpen today. They're looking at Brown, who we agree we don't think is very good. And Estes is a guy who pitched well at home last year. But the Cubs burned through Pearson. They burned through a Thielbar. They burned through Morgan. They burned through Rhea. We'll see how many relievers they have left for this game. But the point is, I like the A's in the spot. I think that Estes will pitch well. And I think the Cubs, once again, might be deflated after punting that game away to Arizona. They haven't pitched well. Give me the A's. I did it again there. On the money line at plus 105 as my dog. Anyway, let's wrap it up, though. Dylan, anything else you want to add for the show?
No, it's been a good opening weekend in baseball, and I just, for Trevor and my sake, I hope our teams turn it around, and credit to you. Good opening weekend for the Yankees.
Yes, definitely so. I do want to point out, though, for the schedule for the upcoming week, because I actually made it, I have it written up already. So if you're looking for the episodes tomorrow, a reminder, I'm having an episode tomorrow morning with Adam, because we are going to be doing the props episode for Monday. We have 14 games, so why not? And for the actual Tuesday game previews, we will be back with Mal and Lonte. So keep that in mind. Till next time, you can find him on Twitter, Reichel Radio. You can find him on Twitter at Rock with 2 Ks, 24 on Twitter. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bats. Bye, everyone.